So I think this is an interesting one. Obviously, this was news that came out in Feb of this year, and I've been speaking to some sponsors about it, and there's sort of mixed feelings really about it. I think on the one hand, people understand that it's good because it might mean that approvals come through quicker, that there potentially could be lower costs involved for sponsors because they only have to run one pivotal study with confirmatory evidence to in order to back up whether or not their compound does what they think it's going to do. But we know from speaking to sponsors that actually what they think they'll save in some areas, they might have to spend in others, namely in patient recruitment. What will happen is that patient recruitment will be a lot less forgiving than it ever was before, or ever has been in the past. It doesn't change the fundamentals of what we do. There are some changes around sort of programmatic views of therapeutic areas and the like. It doesn't change fundamentally what we do, but what it does do is the cost if you get it wrong, it is massively increased now. The impact to you as a sponsor, if you don't get the patient recruitment piece right, you get one shot at it, is the way that sponsors have spoken to us about it. And there are a couple of areas that our clients have been speaking about where it really impacts. So maybe if I go through a few of those. Obviously, recruitment now will hinge on one study. So if the study, traditionally the recruitment on a study was failing or wasn't delivering quite as expected, there'd be probably another study that's either running at the same time with a slightly different look and feel that could help to sort of pick up some of the pieces of the study that isn't going so well. Now they get one shot at it, which is that phrase that I keep hearing a lot from sponsors. We've also heard from sponsors that feasibility is going to need to start happening earlier. So patient feasibility, where are we going to put the sites? And will need to be more precise because, again, you haven't got that wiggle room and that margin of error that perhaps we've had in studies in the past. Diversity and really truly representing patient groups in studies is going to really be under the microscope, I think. We know that regulators are checking to make sure that we are truly representing the patients that are ultimately the end users of these compounds. But again, with one study, every study has to have all of those factors around diversity and representativeness built into them. The quality of the patients is going to be as important as just filling the study, because again, we know that the higher quality referrals that we can send to sites, the greater the chance that those patients are retained in the study, and retention is going to be something that is going to be looked at. It's going to be as big a challenge if those patients walk away from a study than if you hadn't recruited them in the first place. We're finding from some of the sponsors that we've spoken to that some recruitment decisions now, because more money is going to be spent on the recruitment piece of this to get it right, that actually some of the decision making is being escalated up to a board level. We've already seen that with some of our sponsors. We're having some senior level execs within pharma telling us that that's now going to be within their remit because we know they're going to be spending more on any mechanism for identification of patients through data, through the patient recruitment and the digital marketing, through the technological infrastructure of things like trial finder websites and the ability to programmatically look at compounds to try and get the greatest return on investment while all the same time helping that one study or that pivotal study that they've got running. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out a little bit as we move forward, but there's definitely certain areas that are going to be impacted for certain.